Dr. Zaxlor peered out the viewport of the research vessel, Cosmic Seeker, his four eyes blinking in rapid succession. The vastness of space stretched before him, dark and mysterious. But today was different. Today, they had found something extraordinary. "Captain Neelix, you need to see this," Zaxlor called out, his tentacles quivering with excitement. Captain Neelix, a tall, slender alien with shimmering blue skin, glided across the bridge. "What is it, Doctor?" Zaxlor pointed a tentacle at the screen. "Look there, in Sector 7G, our long-range scanners picked up something unusual." The captain leaned forward, his compound eyes focusing on the display. At first, he saw nothing but the usual stars and space debris. Then, slowly, a shape began to emerge from the darkness. No, not one shape, many shapes. "By the cosmic egg," Neelix whispered, "is that?" "A fleet," Zaxlor finished for him. "An ancient fleet of starships, just floating there in deep space." The bridge erupted into a flurry of activity. Crew members rushed to their stations, running scans and analyses. The air buzzed with excitement and curiosity. "How old are they?" Neelix asked, his voice filled with wonder. Zaxlor's tentacles danced over the control panel. "Initial scans suggest at least 100,000 standard years old, maybe more." A collective gasp echoed through the bridge. 100,000 years was ancient by any galactic standard. Most known civilizations hadn't even developed space travel that long ago. "But that's not all," Zaxlor continued, his voice rising with each word. "The technology. It's unlike anything we've ever seen. The power readings are off the charts." Captain Neelix straightened up, his antennae twitching thoughtfully. "Send a message to Galactic Central. We need a full research team here immediately." As the message was sent, news of the discovery spread like wildfire across the ship. Crew members gathered in small groups, whispering excitedly about the mysterious fleet. In the ship's lounge, a group of junior researchers huddled around a table, their drinks forgotten. "I bet it's the lost fleet of the Zorgans," said Bleep, a young Sarlaxian with bright pink fur. "You know from the old legends." Glorp, a gelatinous being, wobbled with laughter. "The Zorgans? Come on, Bleep. Everyone knows those are just fairy tales." "Well, what do you think it is then, smarty tentacles?" Bleep shot back. Before Glor could respond, a gruff voice cut in. "It's obviously some primitive attempt at space travel by a long-dead race." They all turned to see Chief Engineer Crank, a grizzled veteran with more mechanical parts than organic ones. He stomped over to their table, his metal legs clanking on the floor. "Just look at the design," Crank continued, pulling up a holographic image of the fleet. "Bulky, inefficient, probably powered by some crude form of combustion. Whoever built these was centuries behind even our most basic technology." The junior researchers leaned in, studying the image. The ships did look strange, boxy and inelegant compared to the sleek designs they were used to. But Dr. Zaxlor said the power readings were incredible. Bleep protested. Crank snorted, a sound like gears grinding. "Malfunctioning equipment, obviously. There's no way these relics could be advanced. They're probably death traps held together by space dust and luck." As the debate raged on in the lounge, back on the bridge, Captain Neelix and Dr. Zaxlor were making plans. "We'll send out probe droids first," Neelix decided. "No unnecessary risks until we know more." Zaxlor nodded in agreement, his tentacles busy preparing the probes. "I've never seen anything like this in all my years of galactic archaeology. These ships, they could rewrite everything we know about ancient civilizations." The probes were launched, tiny specks of light against the backdrop of the mysterious fleet. The entire crew of the Cosmic Seeker held their breath, waiting for the first bits of data to trickle in. As the initial readings appeared on the screens, confusion spread across the faces of the bridge crew. The numbers didn't make sense. The materials, the energy signatures, the structural integrity. Everything defied their current understanding of physics and engineering. "This can't be right," muttered one of the science officers, frantically recalibrating the instruments. But the readings remained the same. The ancient fleet, despite its odd appearance, was a technological marvel beyond their wildest imaginations. Captain Neelix turned to Dr. Zaxlor, his blue skin pale with shock. "Doctor," he said slowly, "I think we've just made the discovery of the millennium." As the cosmic seeker hung in space, dwarfed by the colossal fleet before it, none of its crew could have imagined the true significance of their find. They had no idea that these ships, built by a species they had yet to encounter, would soon turn their understanding of the galaxy and their place in it upside down. The laughter and mockery would soon turn to awe and fear, for this was no primitive attempt at space travel, no relic of a long-dead race. This was the legacy of humanity, a young species that would soon burst onto the galactic stage and change everything forever. But for now, in the vastness of space, the ancient human fleet waited silently, ready to reveal its secrets. The news of the ancient fleet's discovery spread across the galaxy faster than a quantum transmission. Within days, a massive research vessel, the Galactic Inquirer, arrived at the site. Its crew included the brightest minds from a dozen different alien races, all eager to unravel the mysteries of the derelict ships. Dr. Zaxlor watched from the viewport of the Cosmic Seeker as the new arrivals prepared their expedition. His tentacles twitched with a mix of excitement and nervousness. He had fought hard to be included in the investigation team, and now the moment was finally here. "Ready, Doctor?" Captain Neelix asked, approaching with a protective suit in his arms. Zaxlor nodded, his 4 eyes blinking rapidly. "As ready as I'll ever be, Captain." As they boarded the shuttle that would take them to the ancient fleet, Zaxlor found himself seated next to Professor Yix, a renowned xenotechnologist. The professor's crystalline body sparkled under the shuttle's lights. "Fascinating, isn't it?" Yix's voice chimed like bells. "To think, these ships have been drifting here for 100 millennia, waiting for us to find them." Before Zaxlor could respond, a gruff voice cut in. "Bah, we're wasting our time." It was Chief Engineer Crank, looking even more irritable than usual. "I still say these are nothing but space junk. Primitive attempts at best." The shuttle fell silent as it approached the largest ship of the fleet. Up close, the vessel was even more imposing. Its hull was scarred by countless impacts, yet it remained intact, a testament to its advanced construction. With a soft thud, the shuttle docked. The team, led by Dr. Zaxlor, entered the ancient ship through an airlock that, surprisingly, still functioned. Inside, they found corridors that seemed to stretch endlessly. The air was stale but breathable, preserved by systems they couldn't even begin to understand. "Impossible," Crank muttered, his mechanical eyes whirring as they scanned the surroundings. "These life support systems shouldn't be functioning after all this time." Professor Yix chimed in agreement. "The power source. It defies our current understanding of physics." As they ventured deeper into the ship, they encountered more marvels. Doors that opened at their approach, lights that flickered to life, and strange symbols etched into the walls. Dr. Zaxlor ran his tentacle over one of the symbols. "This writing. It's unlike anything in our linguistic databases." The team split up to cover more ground. Zaxlor found himself in what appeared to be the ship's bridge. Dust-covered consoles lined the walls, their surfaces adorned with more of the mysterious symbols. Curiosity overtook caution, and Zaxlor pressed what looked like an activation button. To everyone's shock, the entire bridge hummed to life. Holographic displays flickered into existence, showing star charts and data streams that none of them could decipher. "By the cosmic egg," Zaxlor whispered, his tentacles trembling. Meanwhile, in another part of the ship, Professor Yix made a startling discovery. In what seemed to be living quarters, they found personal artifacts, objects that hinted at the lives of the ship's long-gone crew. "Look at this," Yix called out, their crystalline form vibrating with excitement. They held up a small, flat device. It appears to be some sort of data storage unit. Crank, who had been grudgingly examining a piece of machinery, stomped over. "Let me see that," he grumbled, snatching the device. To everyone's surprise, the device activated at Crank's touch. A holographic image appeared, a recording of creatures none of them had ever seen before. The beings in the recording were bipedal, with 2 arms and a single head. They lacked tentacles, crystals, or any of the features common to the known galactic races. Yet there was something about them, an energy, a vitality that was almost palpable. What are they?" someone whispered. Before anyone could answer, the image changed. It showed these strange beings constructing enormous ships, the very ships they now stood in. The level of technology on display was staggering, far beyond anything they had imagined. The recording ended, leaving the investigation team in stunned silence. It was Crank who finally spoke, his voice uncharacteristically quiet. I was wrong. These ships, this technology, it's not primitive. It's revolutionary," Professor Yix finished, their crystalline body glowing with awe. Back on the bridge, Dr. Zaxlor made another breakthrough. After hours of careful study, he managed to access the ship's main database. As information flooded the screens, one word kept appearing. "Humans," Zaxlor read aloud, the unfamiliar word feeling strange on his tongue. The beings who built this, they called themselves humans. The implications were enormous. This wasn't just a lost civilization they had discovered. This was a space-faring race that had achieved technological marvels eons ago, a race that might still exist somewhere in the galaxy. As the team regrouped to share their findings, a mix of excitement and unease filled the air. They had come seeking answers, but instead found more questions. Who were these humans? Where had they gone? And if they still existed, what would it mean for the galaxy? The investigation had only just begun, but already it was clear. Nothing would ever be the same again. Days turned into weeks as the research team delved deeper into the mysteries of the ancient fleet. The Galactic Inquirer had become a hub of frenzied activity, with scientists from across the galaxy working around the clock to unravel the secrets of the humans. In a small, cluttered lab aboard the research vessel, a young Xyloxian named Vera hunched over a workstation. Her scaled skin shimmered under the harsh lights as she pored over the data streaming from the human ships. As the junior-most member of the linguistics team, she had been tasked with the seemingly impossible job of deciphering the human language. "This is hopeless," Vera muttered, her tail twitching in frustration. She had been staring at the same sequence of symbols for hours, and it still made no sense. Just as she was about to give up for the night, something caught her eye. A pattern in the symbols, so subtle she had almost missed it. Excitement bubbled up inside her as she began to make connections, matching symbols to concepts. "That's it," she exclaimed, her voice echoing in the empty lab. "It's not just a language, it's a code." With trembling claws, Vera input her findings into the ship's main computer. The system hummed as it processed the new information, applying her decryption key to the vast database they had recovered from the human ships. Suddenly, the screens around her lit up. Information began to pour in, now translated into standard galactic script. Vera's eyes widened as she realized what she was seeing. "Dr. Zaxlor." She called into her communicator. "Professor Yix. Everyone. You need to see this now." Within minutes, the lab was packed with bleary-eyed scientists, all staring in awe at the screens. Dr. Zaxlor's tentacles waved excitedly as he read through the data. "This is incredible," he breathed. "These humans, they weren't just an advanced civilization. They were pioneers, explorers. They built this fleet to search for other life in the galaxy." Professor Yix's crystalline form sparkled with excitement. "Look at these schematics," they chimed. "The technology they developed, it's centuries ahead of our own, maybe even millennia." Even Chief Engineer Crank, who had remained skeptical throughout the investigation, was impressed. "These propulsion systems," he growled, his mechanical eyes whirring as they analyzed the designs. "They break half the laws of physics as we know them." As the team pored over the newfound information, a disturbing question began to form. If the humans were so advanced, why had they never encountered them before? Where were they now? The answer came from an unexpected source. In a corner of the lab, a holographic display flickered to life. It showed a recording, the same one they had discovered earlier, but now they could understand the words spoken by the strange Bikdal creatures. "This is Captain Elena Chen of the Earth Alliance Starship Horizon," the human in the recording said. "If you are seeing this, it means you found our fleet. It also means we failed in our mission." The room fell silent as the human continued. She spoke of a great calamity, a war that had engulfed their home system. The fleet had been sent out as a last hope, carrying the best of their technology and the brightest of their people. "We were supposed to find a new home." Captain Chen's voice cracked with emotion. "But something went wrong. Our navigation systems failed. We've been adrift for I don't know how long. Our stasis systems are failing. This is our final message, our legacy. To whoever finds this, learn from our mistakes. And if Earth still exists, tell them we tried to make them proud." The recording ended, leaving the room in stunned silence. The revelation was almost too much to process. These incredible ships, this advanced technology, were the last remnants of a civilization that had faced extinction. But one crucial question remained unanswered. "Earth," Dr. Zaxlor said, breaking the silence. "We need to find this Earth, if it still exists." "If it still exists," Professor Yix chimed in, "then the humans might not be extinct after all." The implications were staggering. A species capable of building this fleet might still be out there, perhaps rebuilding, perhaps even more advanced than before. As the news spread throughout the Galactic Inquirer, a sense of urgency took hold. They had to find Earth. They had to know if the humans still existed. Because if they did, it would change everything they thought they knew about their place in the galaxy. The revelation of the humans' existence and their incredible technological achievements had turned initial mockery into a race against time. The hunt for Earth was about to begin, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The search for Earth consumed the galactic community. Every available telescope and long-range scanner was pointed towards the endless expanse of space, hunting for signs of the mysterious human homeworld. Months passed, and hope began to fade. Earth seemed to be as elusive as the humans themselves. Then, on a quiet shift aboard the Galactic Inquirer, an alert blared through the ship's speakers. "Anomaly detected in Sector 8472, the computerized voice announced. "Matching parameters for potential Earth-like planet." The bridge erupted into a flurry of activity. Dr. Zaxlor, who had barely slept in weeks, rushed to the main view screen. His tentacles trembled as he input commands, bringing up the scan results. It's real," he whispered, his 4 eyes wide with disbelief. "We've found it. We've found Earth." The news spread like wildfire. Within hours, a delegation was assembled. Representatives from every major galactic race boarded the sleek diplomatic vessel Stellar Envoy. Their mission: to make first contact with the humans. As the Stellar Envoy approached the blue-green planet, tension filled the air. What would they find? Had human civilization survived, or would they encounter only ruins? Picking up radio signals, the communications officer reported. "They're primitive compared to our technology, but definitely artificial." Relief washed over the crew. The humans had survived. Suddenly, the ship's sensors lit up. Multiple objects approaching. The tactical officer announced, a note of panic in their voice. They appear to be spacecraft. On the view screen, a dozen small vessels appeared. They were crude by galactic standards, but unmistakably products of an advancing civilization. A crackling voice came through the speakers, speaking in the same language they had deciphered from the ancient fleet. Thanks to their translation software, everyone on board could understand the words. This is Captain Sarah Chen of Earth Defense Force. Unidentified vessel. State your intentions immediately. Dr. Zaxlor stepped forward, his heart's pounding. This was the moment they had all been waiting for. This is Dr. Zaxlor of the Galactic Alliance, he said, his voice steady despite his nerves. We come in peace, seeking friendship with the human race. There was a long pause. The tension on the bridge was palpable. Finally, Captain Chen's voice returned. Did you say Galactic Alliance? As in, aliens? The sheer wonder in her voice was unmistakable. Dr. Zaxlor couldn't help but feel a surge of excitement. Yes, Captain, he replied. We are indeed what you would call aliens. We have traveled far to meet you. What followed was a whirlwind of activity. The human governments, once they got over their initial shock, were eager to meet their galactic neighbors. The landing site was prepared, and the delegation from the stellar envoy made their way to the surface of Earth. As they stepped out of their ship, the aliens found themselves facing a crowd of wide-eyed humans. The diversity of Earth's population was stunning. Humans of all shapes, sizes, and colors, united in their awe at the visitors from the stars. Dr. Zaxlor approached a group of human officials, his translator working overtime to keep up with the flood of questions. How did you find us? One human asked. We discovered your ancient fleet, Zaxlor explained. The ships you sent out thousands of years ago. The humans exchanged confused looks. Ancient fleet, another official asked. We've only been in space for a few decades. We've never sent out a fleet. Now it was the aliens' turn to be confused. But the ships, Zaxlor stammered. They're at least 100,000 years old. A hush fell over the crowd. Then, an elderly human stepped forward. Her eyes sparkled with intelligence and curiosity. I think, she said slowly, we have a lot to talk about. As the initial meeting progressed, it became clear that the humans were far more than the primitive race the galactic community had expected. Yes, their current technology was behind that of the wider galaxy, but their rate of advancement was unprecedented. In just a few centuries, they had gone from horse-drawn carriages to space exploration. And now, faced with the reality of alien life, their enthusiasm and adaptability were nothing short of astonishing. The humans' reaction to learning about their own ancient, advanced fleet was a mix of excitement and determination. Instead of being intimidated by the gap between their current technology and that of their ancestors, they saw it as a challenge, a goal to work towards. As the first day of contact drew to a close, Dr. Zaxlor found himself standing under the stars with Captain Chen, watching the mix of humans and aliens mingling in the distance. You know, Captain Chen said thoughtfully, 100,000 years is a long time. Who knows what we'll achieve in the next 100,000? Looking at the determination in her eyes, Dr. Zaxlor felt a shiver run down his tentacles. He had a feeling the galaxy was in for some big changes. The age of humanity had just begun. As news of the alien contact spread across Earth, humans everywhere struggled to come to terms with this new reality. In a small town in what was once called the American Midwest, Professor Emily Chen sat in her living room, her eyes glued to the television screen. Emily was a historian, specializing in ancient civilizations, but nothing in her years of study had prepared her for this moment. The aliens on the screen were discussing an ancient human fleet, far more advanced than anything in recorded history. It doesn't make sense, Emily muttered, running a hand through her graying hair. How could we have forgotten something so important? Her granddaughter, Lily, a bright-eyed teenager with a passion for science, sat beside her. Maybe we didn't forget, Gran, Lily suggested. Maybe we never knew. Emily's mind raced. If Lily was right, it could mean only one thing. There had been an advanced human civilization long before recorded history, a civilization capable of interstellar travel. Across the globe, in a high-tech lab in Tokyo, Dr. Hiroshi Tanaka was having similar thoughts. As one of the world's leading experts in archaeology and ancient technology, He had been called in to examine some puzzling artifacts that had been unearthed over the years. "Look at this," he said to his team, holding up a small metallic object. "We always thought this was just an unusually shaped rock. But now—" He pressed a hidden button, and the object sprang to life, projecting a holographic star map into the air. The lab fell silent, everyone staring in awe at the ancient technology that suddenly made sense. Meanwhile, in the halls of power, world leaders grappled with the implications of this revelation. In a secure bunker deep beneath Washington, D.C., the President of the United States sat with her top advisors. "So, you're telling me," the President said slowly, "that sometime in our distant past, humans built a fleet of advanced starships, sent them out into the galaxy, and then, what? Just forgot about it." The Secretary of Science, a tall man with kind eyes, cleared his throat. "It's more complicated than that, Madam President. We believe there was some kind of global catastrophe, something big enough to wipe out most of human civilization and set us back to the Stone Age." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity had risen to great heights once before, only to fall. And now, they were rising again. Back in her small town, Emily Chen had come to a decision. She picked up her phone and dialed a number she hadn't used in years. "Hello, Richard. It's Emily. I know we haven't spoken since the divorce, but I need your help. It's about our family history." Hours later, Emily and Richard stood in the attic of Richard's old family home. Dust motes danced in the air as they rifled through old boxes and trunks. "Here it is," Richard said, pulling out an ancient leather-bound book. "My great-grandmother's journal. She always claimed our family had a secret history, but everyone thought she was just spinning tales." Emily opened the journal with trembling hands. Inside, she found detailed accounts of a hidden legacy, passed down through generations. A legacy of guardians, keeping alive the memory of humanity's forgotten greatness. As she read, pieces started falling into place. The mysterious artifacts found around the world, the unexplained leaps in human technology, the persistent legends of advanced ancient civilizations, it all pointed to one incredible truth. Humanity had not just stumbled upon the stars. They had conquered them long ago. And then, faced with some unimaginable threat, they had hidden away their knowledge, preserving it in secret societies and coded messages, waiting for the day when humanity would be ready to reclaim its heritage. Across the globe, similar revelations were taking place. Hidden caches of ancient knowledge were being discovered. Secret societies were stepping out of the shadows, revealing the truth they had guarded for millennia. As the sun set on this world-changing day, humanity stood on the brink of a new era. They had rediscovered their past and glimpsed their potential future among the stars. In her small-town living room, Emily looked up from the journal, meeting Lily's eager gaze. "You were right, sweetheart," she said softly. "We didn't forget. We were waiting to remember." Lily's eyes sparkled with excitement. "So what happens now, Gran?" Emily smiled, feeling a sense of purpose she hadn't experienced in years. Now we reclaim our legacy. We learn from our past mistakes, and we reach for the stars again. But this time, we do it right." As night fell, millions of humans looked up at the sky with new eyes. The stars were no longer distant, unreachable points of light. They were beacons, calling humanity back to their forgotten destiny. The journey ahead would be challenging, full of obstacles and wonders alike. But one thing was certain: humanity was ready to take its place in the galaxy once more. The news of humanity's rediscovered legacy spread through the galaxy like a shockwave. On the bustling space station Nexus 7, a hub of interstellar commerce and diplomacy, beings from 1,000 worlds gathered to discuss the implications. In a dimly lit bar at the heart of the station, Zixtor, a Zorgonian merchant, slammed his tentacle on the table. "It's impossible," he bellowed, his voice carrying over the hum of conversations. "How could a species advance so quickly?" Across from him, Lyra, an ethereal Luminian, let out a tinkling laugh. "Oh, Zixtor," she said, her body glowing softly. "Don't you see? They're not advancing. They're remembering." At a nearby table, General Kraz of the Arxian Empire leaned in, his scales glinting in the low light. "Remembering or not," he growled, "the humans are a threat. We should contain them before they grow too powerful." His words sent a ripple of unease through the crowd. The idea of containing an entire species was extreme, even by Arxian standards. Meanwhile, in the Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Council, representatives from every major spacefaring race had gathered for an emergency session. The tension in the room was palpable as Counselor Vix of the Andromeda Alliance took the floor. "Fellow beings," Vix began, her holographic form flickering slightly, "we stand at a crossroads. The re-emergence of humanity as a galactic power is not something we can ignore. We must decide how to respond." Murmurs filled the hall as various factions voiced their opinions. Some saw humans as a threat to be neutralized, others as potential allies to be courted. A few even suggested that humanity's unique perspective could bring fresh insights to old galactic problems. As the debate raged on, Dr. Zaxler sat quietly in his seat, observing. He had spent more time with humans than anyone else in the room, and he knew they were more complex than these simple categorizations. Finally, unable to stay silent any longer, Zaxler stood. The hall fell quiet as all eyes turned to him. "Friends," he said, his voice calm but firm, "I have walked among the humans. I have seen their cities, spoken with their leaders, and yes, I have seen the remnants of their ancient greatness. But more importantly, I have seen their potential." He paused, letting his words sink in. "The humans are not a threat to be contained, nor are they simple allies to be used. They are a mirror, showing us what we could become if we dared to dream big enough." Back on Earth, oblivious to the galactic debate their existence had sparked, humanity was taking its first steps towards reclaiming its heritage. In laboratories and workshops around the world, scientists and engineers pored over the newly discovered ancient technologies, slowly unraveling their secrets. In a sprawling research facility in the Sahara Desert, Dr. Amina Okafor stood before a holographic display of the ancient human fleet. Her team had been working around the clock to understand the principles behind the ship's faster-than-light drives. "It's like they took everything we know about physics and turned it inside out," Amina muttered, her eyes wide with wonder. "But it works. It shouldn't, but it does." Beside her, her colleague Dr. Chen smiled. "Isn't that the story of humanity?" he said. "Doing what shouldn't be possible, and then making it look easy." As Earth buzzed with activity, the first human diplomatic missions were setting out to the stars. Captain Sarah Chen, who had made first contact with the alien delegation, now found herself leading humanity's first official embassy to the Galactic Council. Standing on the bridge of her ship, the newly christened Horizon, Sarah felt the weight of history on her shoulders. They were not just representing present-day Earth, but also the legacy of their long-forgotten ancestors. "Captain," her first officer called out, "we're receiving a transmission from Nexus 7. They're cheering for us." Sarah smiled. Despite the fear and suspicion in some quarters, there were many in the galaxy who welcomed humanity's return. As the Horizon cruised towards its destination, messages of support flooded in from dozens of worlds. The galaxy was changing. Old alliances were being questioned, new possibilities were being explored. And at the center of it all was humanity, a species reborn, carrying the wisdom of the ancients and the energy of youth. As the Horizon approached Nexus 7, Sarah took a deep breath. "Well," she said to her crew, "let's go make some history." The ship docked smoothly, and as the airlock doors opened, Sarah stepped out into a new chapter of galactic history. Whatever challenges lay ahead, humanity was ready to face them, armed with the knowledge of their past and the promise of their future. The age of humanity had truly begun, and the galaxy would never be the same again. 5 years had passed since humanity's dramatic re-entry into galactic affairs. The Sol system, once a backwater, now bustled with activity. Ships from 100 worlds came and went, carrying diplomats, traders, and curious tourists, eager to see the home of the species that had turned the galaxy on its head. On Mars, now home to a thriving colony, Dr. Amina Okafor stood before a massive hangar. Inside, a ship unlike any other was taking shape. It combined the best of humanity's rediscovered ancient technology with innovations from a dozen alien races. The Starbridger, Amina said proudly to the group of human and alien dignitaries beside her. The first of a new fleet. With this, we'll be able to explore further than ever before. Among the group was Zix Tor, the once skeptical Zorgonian merchant. Impressive, he admitted, his tentacles waving in appreciation. You humans certainly don't waste time. Lyra, the Luminian, glowed with excitement. It's more than impressive, she chimed. It's revolutionary. The energy matrix alone could change how we think about interstellar travel. Back on Earth, in the newly established Galactic Exchange University, Professor Emily Chen was giving a lecture to a diverse group of students from across the galaxy. The topic: Human History, from Stone Age to Space Age. Twice. And so, Emily concluded, her eyes twinkling, we learned that progress isn't always linear. Sometimes, you have to take a few steps back before you can leap forward. In the front row, her granddaughter Lily nodded enthusiastically. Now a promising young scientist herself, Lily was part of a new generation of humans who saw the galaxy as their playground. Meanwhile, in the Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Council, heated debates were taking place. The rapid advancements of humanity had upset the delicate balance of power that had existed for millennia. The humans are moving too fast, declared the representative from the Arxian Empire. They must be contained. But before the debate could escalate, a calm voice cut through the noise. It was Dr. Zaxlor, now serving as the ambassador from the Sol system. Friends, he said, his tentacles moving in soothing patterns, I understand your fears. Change is always frightening. But consider this. In just 5 years, humanity has not only caught up to galactic standards, but has begun to push beyond them. And at every step, they've shared their discoveries with all of us. He paused, letting his words sink in. The humans don't want to dominate the galaxy. They want to explore it, to understand it. And they want to do it with us, not against us. His words had a visible effect on the assembly. Even the Arxian representative seemed to soften slightly. In the shadowy corners of the galaxy, however, not everyone was pleased with the new order. On a hidden base deep in the uncharted regions, General Kraz of the Arxian Empire met with like-minded individuals from other races. The humans are a threat to us all, Kraz growled. If the Council won't see reason, we'll have to take matters into our own hands. But even as they plotted, they were unaware that their actions were being monitored. Captain Sarah Chen, now head of Earth's nascent intelligence service, watched the secret meeting through hidden cameras. Well, she muttered to herself, I guess some things never change, no matter what galaxy you're in. Despite these shadows, the overall mood across the galaxy was one of excitement and possibility. The injection of human creativity and drive had reinvigorated many stagnant fields of study. Breakthroughs in medicine, energy production, and environmental restoration were improving lives on countless worlds. On a small, once-dying planet in the Orion Arm, a group of human and alien scientists activated a planetary shield, reversing centuries of environmental damage. As the skies cleared and the first rains in generations began to fall, the local inhabitants wept with joy. Back in the Sol system, the Starbridger prepared for its maiden voyage. Its crew was a mix of humans and aliens, symbolizing the new era of cooperation. As the ship lifted off from Mars, cheers erupted from the watching crowd. The Starbridger rose higher and higher, until with a flash of light, it engaged its new drive and vanished into the depths of space. In that moment, watching the ship disappear, Amina felt a sense of pride and wonder. Humanity had faced extinction, had clawed its way back from the brink, had rediscovered its lost greatness, and now stood ready to write a new chapter in the history of the galaxy. The future was uncertain, filled with both promise and peril. But one thing was clear: the age of humanity had truly begun, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The laughter that had once greeted the discovery of the ancient fleet had long since faded, replaced by respect, admiration, and perhaps a little fear. For better or worse, humanity was back among the stars. And this time, they were here to stay.